Welcome to BAM, Badass Moms with Lori and Jenny. We are moms on a mission to share women's stories about life, fitness, aging, relationships, travel, and much more. Hello, friends, and thanks for listening. I just wanted to take a second to give you a quick reminder about subscribing to the show. If you have not already, just take a moment and do so. This will make sure that you never miss a daily bite or an upcoming episode. And in addition to that, if you have a few extra moments and like to drop us a review, we'd really appreciate it. And there's also a sponsor of the show located at the bottom of all of our episodes. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for being badass. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us on another episode of The BAM with Lori and Jenny. Today, we decided we're just going to have another conversation between us because we think we're a lot of fun, and hopefully you do too. So we thought that, we've kind of slacked. I don't want to say slacked, but we've kind of thought instead of doing daily bites, we'd kind of do more monthly, larger chunks, if you want to call it that, of us, right?
Deeper conversations. Deep Thoughts by Lori and Jenny.
Yes, Deep Thoughts by Lori and Jenny. I think we need to change that. So, so welcome to the Lori and Jenny show today.
Yes. So I have to tell you, I was getting coffee downstairs and Sean, my husband, Sean. So he's like, oh, who are you guys interviewing today? I was like, each other. And he's like, oh, nice. I go, we think we're pretty interesting. He goes, yeah, Jeff and I do too. Jeff's Lori's husband, for those of you who don't know.
Or at least they tell us we're interesting, right? Or maybe they tell us that just so we'll shut up. They're like, oh, you guys are great.
Most likely. They're like smiling and nodding. Yeah.
So as many of you may or may not know, Jenny and I both have October birthdays, which, we love the month of October because it's beautiful, but, it's always fun to have birthdays. I feel like close to Halloween and just in such a marvelous time of the year. But we thought it'd be really fun today to kind of talk about, Jenny saw a blurb, if you want to explain it in a minute, about, go ahead and
okay. Well, first of all, it's I'm not even going to apologize. I love Instagram Reels. And I do limit myself on them. I love things that make me laugh or inspirational things. So something popped up that talked about a concept called Misogi. It's a Japanese concept or Japanese thing. I don't know what
it sounds like a sandwich.
Practice.
A misogi.
It does. It totally does. Maybe it is like a little dumpling or something. But anyway, so a misogi is every year you pick one life defining goal for that year. So you might not remember what the hell did I do in 2006, but if you pick one thing every year, then you're like, oh, 2006, that's the year that I got my master's degree, or that's the year that we did a trip to Asia, right? So you pick one thing and that's what your focus is on, which actually I love this for many reasons. But one of them is one of the things that I've been trying to do in my life is instead of add things, we tend to add things like, I'm so busy, I'm going to add this app so that it manages this, or I'm going to do this. And I read something that really struck me. I've probably heard it a billion times, but this time it just hit in the right way. And I was like, I'm going to start subtracting things and see how I feel. Yeah.
I like that.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to subtract things. So I'm keeping things simple. My goals are going to be simple, right? And then your focus is all on that goal. And inevitably what happens is it ripples other things. You may, meet other goals that you didn't define or that you didn't even know you had. But yeah. So anyway, so I think that
on the Misogi, I have a question. So for 2024, we're almost kind of, believe it or not, coming to kind of like the year end. Did you have one this year that you didn't even realize, or,
Yeah. Well, I had two because I didn't know you were supposed to pick one.
Oh, wow.
But one of them was saying yes to more things and taking opportunities. And I think a good example of that one is a colleague that I'd never met in person, two colleagues that I'd never met in person. They asked if I wanted to go to the balloon fiesta in New Mexico. And the guy was like, yep, my wife and I would love to host you both. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. And so we did. And I'm telling you, I had such a blast. I mean, I think I talked about it already, but I had such a blast. It was so much fun. And just, I'm so glad I did it. And that's not something I normally would do.
But you're going to remember it for
oh my
forever,
God,
really, right?
Totally.
Because not only was it an amazing event, but you trusted, your instinct,
Yeah.
obviously, but also like your ability to kind of let your guard down and just do something completely new.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, well, hopefully, like, I mean, I knew he
It all
wasn't a
works out.
serial killer, right? Like I knew he was a good person, but yeah, I mean, my expectations were just like, I was like, okay, it is what it is. If we don't see the balloon launch, we don't. If we do, we do. And it was awesome. I loved every second of it.
Well, and I think one thing to note is that, life, I want to say changing event, but like like a memorable event. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be jumping out of an airplane. It doesn't
No.
have to be bungee jumping. It doesn't have to be something that scares the living shit out of you. It can
Yeah.
be something that you're going to remember. It could be literally, a habit that you decide to change
Yeah.
over that year, or starting exercise, or getting rid of a bad habit. Like you said,
Yeah.
getting rid of something is also, life defining. So I think that's important as, not only we think about like in 2025, what our Misogi is, but
Yeah.
also for our listeners, like it doesn't have to be something that you're just super scared of. And I also think it shouldn't be something that is unattainable, because then you're going to set
Totally.
yourself up for failure.
So this, I said I was like studying a bunch on goal setting because I just love that stuff, mindset, goal setting. But there's a book I'm reading right now by John Acuff, who I think is fabulous. But he basically talks about the most successful people. They set goals that are easy wins. And he's like, and they're unapologetic about it.
Mhm.
And I thought that was so fascinating. He's like, why would you try to tackle something that you probably won't get? He's like, so it flies in the face of like this big, hairy goal, but you might have that huge goal in your brain, but set tiny little goals that are attainable, because those quick wins will keep you moving towards it. So I don't know. I thought it totally resonated. So
No, I love it. I mean, I look back to like when you did your marathons, right? Like,
yeah,
yes, the end goal was to complete the
yeah,
marathon, but it was the daily like check off boxes of like, did
yeah,
I get my run in? Like, did I have my nutrition on check? Like all
yeah,
those things that added up to, it's the journey, right?
yeah,
We can't ever forget that everything we do, yes, sometimes there's the moment that's defined through all the actions that lead up to it, but ultimately like every day is part of the adventure, right?
yeah.
And when you look back at your marathon, yeah, you remember that day, but you remember those hard training days that led up to it.
Oh, and I remember the friends that ran with me on those training days. And I remember the people that supported me, and that when I raised money for charity, that donated money and helped me get to the fin. Like, that's the stuff I remember more than actually the marathon, or like even like the trip to New Mexico. On the way back, I was like blaring the music. So I was all by myself. I'm like blaring
And
the
she
music.
called me to
I
chat.
did call you. Yes. But I was like blaring the music and like singing along. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like when do you ever get to do that when you're like by yourself for 6+ hours? I had to like entertain myself, you know?
You didn't have anybody saying like, mom, or
No,
somebody like having a conflict with what you want to listen to or what you want to hear. You're like,
totally. Yeah,
I'm going and doing, and nobody's like, saying anything good or bad about your driving, or just like,
exactly.
yeah.
I know. Exactly. So,
What an
yeah.
amazing trip.
What about you? Okay. What's yours?
Okay, so for 2025, so of course
Oh,
I
you
always
already
have like,
have your 2025?
well, that's coming up, right?
Okay. So okay. You're good. All right, go. Keep
Yeah.
going.
Okay. Isn't that the next year? What year is
Yeah,
it?
I know. I still have to pick mine. So maybe we can pick it on the call today.
Okay. I'm like, don't make me, I know I'm getting older. I mean, I'm going to be 44, but I'm like,
What year is this?
I did. Oh, so hold on. Side note though, my mom, her birthday was just yesterday. And I was like, Mom, like I was talking to her like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. And I'm like, Mom, you're going to be turning 78. She goes, am I going to be 78? I'm like, yeah, I think you are. And she's like, oh my God. And then she texted me the other day, and my mom, like I've always wanted to create a website like textfrommom.com.
Oh yeah, do it.
They're all over the place. But anyways, in halftime she like voice audios the text to me, and I'm like, what are you
That was my dad. I've got some, actually, Lori, there's something there. There's the text from teens. We could do text from parents.
text from parents? Like, I mean, they're just hilarious, right?
Oh, so good.
So anyways, I have this conversation, and I'm like, Mom, you're going to be 78. And she's like, oh my gosh. Well, then she texted me the other day. She's like, honey, what's 1947 minus 2024? And I was like, is this a trick question? I'm only going to be 77. And I was like, oh shit, look at that. I was like, Mom, that was my gift to you. I gave you another year.
Totally.
You a year back.
That's awesome.
So
My
anyways,
dad used to forget how old I was going to be. And I was like, how the hell do you forget your kid's age? And now I'm like, now I kind of get it. I'm like, how old are we?
right.
What's going on?
Yeah, it is. It does. It makes you like take a moment.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was thinking about like I'm always like, oh, I love doing events and stuff like that. And that's
Yeah.
always like I have something where I say don't set yourself up for failure. And I would love to say that I could do like want to do a half Ironman and that would be
Ooh.
fantastic. But I don't want to set myself up for failure. And I'm not quite sure I'm motivated enough to get in and do the swimming component that I'd be in a good place. So that's kind of my like, maybe could happen, but I'm not going to overly commit to it. But as Jenny and I have talked about a lot, it's always putting yourself out there and trying something new, something you've always wanted to do, something you want to get good at. And so as Ginny said, with her age, she's started to notice birds more and just like you become more in tune with the environment. And I've always loved taking photos. Like I've always loved taking pictures, right? But it's always been with my iPhone or, kind of an old school like point and click. And so I have a couple of friends that are like photographers and I'm just so captivated by like their ability to capture moments. And with kiddos in sports, I'm always at sporting events all the time. And I'm like, what if I could get really good at taking sports action photos? And then I sell these photos online to parents because right now, as parents, we always buy the pictures of your kids just standing there with their team or
With
they're
their
like,
shirt tucked in. Why do they make them tuck the damn soccer?
or they tuck their shirts in and they're just horrible pictures, right? And I'm like, but as a parent, what I would pay for is my kid taking that epic shot or my kid taking that, wrist shot at hockey. And I thought, God, if I could just, I'm already there, really dial in, get a good camera, get the training and start taking pictures and get really good at it. It could be a wonderful side gig to start. And
love
I
it.
absolutely love capturing moments. So that is my
I love it.
is
That's
to
awesome.
take a photography class, which I've already found one in Boulder that starts like mid-November. It's just like a 2-hour, like 6-week course.
Yeah.
Do that, figure out how to use a camera properly, practice, and then get to a point where people actually might want to give me a little bit of money for taking these images of their kids playing sports.
I love it. I think that's so fabulous.
So that's mine. What's yours?
And I mean, I love too that that's like something you love anyway, Yeah. Okay, so I think I don't know why I always feel guilty about saying this. So it's okay. 2025 is the year my business is going to take off. So I have the HR consulting business and we've got clients and it's been great and it's been slow and steady. And we are very clear that we don't want to take on too many clients because we believe in connection, collaboration, partnership. Like we want to be in it with our clients, right? So, and we don't want to build necessarily an empire where we're just like managing people who are out in the field, right? Like we want to be embedded in the business with them. And so we want to have enough clients that we are exceeding what we made in corporate. So we have a financial goal. And also we want to not overextend ourselves. And so I want to work 30 hours a week. I want to work 30 hours a week and those 30 hours are going to be fucking amazing. And the client is going to get exactly what they need and then some. And we're going to make the money that we need to make to contribute to our family and to do all the fun things we want to do. So,
and that you deserve to make. I think that's important to know
so
also
hard for me to say.
You deserve it and you work so hard. And I think you guys, as I've said before, have such a wonderful compassion for your clients that doesn't exist for a lot of other competitors, right? Like you said, you want to have less clients and spend more time with the one you do have. And I think that's really, really important. I saw something on LinkedIn the other day that was like, if you're in a position, and I guess this could be for your own business also, you should either be earning or you should be learning. And I honestly think when it's your own business, you should be doing both. You should be learning and earning, right? But if you are slugging away at a corporate position that you're like, yeah, it's fine. Well, make sure it's fine because you're getting one of those other avenues out of it. Maybe you're making a very good salary, but you're not necessarily feeling 100% fulfilled otherwise, or you're learning a shit ton and not getting compensated that much, but you're going to be able to take those skills somewhere else. So I think just always keeping that in mind. And when you're running your own business, I think you figure out a way to make both of those things happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, and it's funny because I think I've said this before, but when you start your own business, all your junk comes up, right? Like all the things that you've been led to believe. And so it's hard for me to say, yeah, we deserve that. We have earned that. Like we are good at what we do. Because when I was a kid, it's like, don't brag, don't say this, don't say this, but we are good at what we do. And we're, we've been doing this a long time. And we are, like, to your point, I do believe that we do it in a way that is different. We do care and we do invest in our clients just as
Oh
much as they
no,
invest in us. So
totally.
so anyway, so I'm trying to wrap my brain around, sharing that message because that's what I want for 2025.
Well, and I think putting it out there, not only to our listeners, but putting
Yeah.
it out there to the
Yeah.
universe, like I think both of, what we want to accomplish with those larger column goals will
Yeah.
happen because I'm confident in both of us. And, I think when you think of smaller things and accomplishments along the way, no matter what, we're not going to fail. Okay. Maybe
Yeah.
at the end of the year, you get to a point where you're like, well, I wish I would have been here, but I'm here. But look at all the things along the journey
Yeah.
that got me to, this place. I think, I think we are both going to be very, very successful in anything we put our mind to. So, and
Well,
listeners, I believe all of you will do the same, right?
yeah.
Anything you put
And
your mind to.
I'm guessing that anyone who listens to podcasts, even in general, and we are not the type that will say, this is what I want for the next year and just sit there, right? Like we put the work in, we always put the work in. And so the other thing that 2024, like I said, I had two things. I decided midway through the year, I think it was during, is the 4th of July when people do the Murph?
I think it's Memorial
CrossFit?
Day.
Is
Isn't
it?
it
Oh,
Memorial Day?
Memorial Day. Okay. Yeah, I think you're right. So Memorial Day when I saw this notice at the gym that was like, oh, we're doing the Murph. And it was like literally like 2 days before it. And so I told my two workout buddies, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to do the Murph? I've never done it and wanted to do it. And my friend Molly was like, let's do it in my garage. Like we
Oh,
can
cool.
just do, like, I have a pull-up bar, like we can do our own version of it. I'm like, okay, perfect. And we did the whole thing, but like we did it on our own because we were like, oh shit, we haven't trained. It's like 2 days
Right.
before.
Right.
And so anyway, so we did do the whole thing, and we did do we used bands to do the pull-ups, like assisted pull-ups. So I was like, I want to do freaking pull-ups. That is my goal. I want to do
like
pull-ups.
a couple real ones.
Real ones.
Oh,
Like
okay.
hardcore, like real, not the ones
Like wide pull-ups or like hands in underneath grip. Like there's all
I
different
do
kinds.
overhand grip. I don't know what's harder, easier. I don't know, but I do overhand grip and shoulder width apart. So like your arms are like the goalpost.
Yeah.
And so I watched some videos on technique
Okay.
because it's like you start from a dead hang. So it's not like, how like
that's the hard part, right?
yeah. And that's the most challenging part. So this technique thing was saying, like, don't use the band when you're at the dead hang because that's the muscle you have to build.
Okay.
So then I was like, okay, so I changed. So the first thing I did is literally you have to hold onto the bar for at least 45 seconds. If you can't do that, you can't do one pull-up. And most women don't have that grip strength. And so that was my first step, is like, again, talking about breaking it down. I was like, okay, I'm going to hang on the bar like twice a week. That's what I'm going to practice on.
And that feels really good, by the way. I do that all the time.
It's really good. Yeah. And it feels awesome on your back, by the way.
So good. Yeah.
So I did that. And then, but now I'm at 6 pull-ups.
What? That's awesome.
So I'm trying to get to 10 by the end of this year, but I know I'm
like from a full pull up and then down. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
6 pull-ups. Awesome. So, I mean, they are not like the last couple. I'm like,
they don't need to be pretty. They don't need
but I get them done. So yeah, I'm at 6 pull-ups. So yeah,
I'll jump on that one. I don't even know how many I can do. I haven't done them in a bit.
You can probably whip those suckers out.
I don't know. I have a bad elbow, so I always am like, oh, my elbow. But I do. Like, I have like,
I lost you.
Tendinitis in my elbow, but I always tend to do.
There you are. I lost you for a second.
What's that?
I lost you for a second.
Oh, I'm back. I know. I do like pull-ups though. I always do the assisted pull-up machine at the gym. It's just something about a like pull-up that I just absolutely like. The stretch, I just feel like it's such a wonderful exercise. It might be my favorite, to be honest.
Feels so strong. Like it feels pretty badass.
Yeah, no, I agree. So listeners, if you don't have a goal, go do a pull-up this year. So, I think looking ahead, in general, I'm just really excited. I'm always excited. I know everybody laughs like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? I don't ever think of things as
I don't either.
resolutions or anything like that. But what I do love about a new year is just the opportunity. It's just like a new chapter, I feel like, right? Like we kind of look at our lives as chapters. At least I kind of do, because we have these
Yeah.
years and, different phases. And I'm always like, I'm just really excited because I do feel like Jenny said, your days go by and there's certain things that you'll unfortunately forget about those days. But if you have those defining moments and events or goals that you reach or getting your master's or whatever it might be, like it's just, you hold on to those when you're older. I mean, I was talking to a good friend of mine the other day and I'm like, my son now is in second grade and we're chatting. I'm like, what do you remember about second grade? And she's like, I don't remember much. She's like, isn't that sad?
Yeah, totally.
But I think we get rid of those memories so that we can make new memories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you have those defining moments, like in your childhood where maybe, unfortunately, somebody was really mean to you, or you did something that was like you accomplished something in school and got an award, you remember that, but you don't really remember, like you might remember that one thing on the playground, right? But you don't remember the day-to-day of it, right?
No, you don't. And it's funny. I actually, I had my students for the public speaking class that I'm teaching. I'm having them do an obituary or a eulogy. They have to do their own eulogy for one of their speeches. And they were so funny because they're like, can we like do a bunch of causes of death and then we can all pick them out of a hat? Like we all write down a few and then pick them out of a hat. And I was like, okay, knock yourself out. These kids are so freaking funny. So the causes of death are all over the board. And then, they select them randomly. So like they don't pick their own. And so to see what they do with them has been hilarious. But the thing that, it all ties so closely to this because the things that they talk about are those moments, right? This is the year that I went to Mexico with my family, or and one girl was like, this was the year my parents got divorced, like defining moments in your life, not the day to day.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. What a topic. Wow. I mean, doing it so close to Halloween is
it was funny because they were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, this is what we're going to do.
So I'm not like a horror movie fan. It was interesting. One of my coworkers was like, have you seen the movie Smile?
Oh, I can't. No.
And I was like, I don't even know what that is. So I Googled it and I was like, I would never sleep again. I was like,
I wouldn't either. I saw the preview. I was like, what the fuck? No, I can't. Do you know, did I ever tell you Candyman, the movie Candyman? Like, did you watch? It was in the 90s.
Yes, I watched that. I was young and stupid. No, I can't watch scary movies.
God.
No.
It would haunt me. And my boyfriend, it was his favorite movie. So he made me watch it all the time. And finally I told him, I was like, I will never watch it again. Because I would like, you know how it fades over time. So you'd be like, okay, I'm okay now. Like, I'm not scared anymore. And then he'd want to watch it again. I'm like, nope, we're done.
What was that movie? I'm like still traumatized from it. Like the girl in the TV, like where she's like, what was that? Like that scared
Poltergeist. Yeah. Oh, I watched it so many times. My brother and I would watch it so many times, even though it scared the shit out of us. But I mean, do you think that's what did in Clowns?
Maybe.
Because I mean, that was terrifying. I'm actually surprised they haven't redone it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not scared. Like some people, like I'm just not horror. I'm not crime. Like all that stuff, it doesn't relax me at all. It just I have enough things that stress me out in my day. I don't need to add any kind of like make believe things that could like
I know
in my head like spiral. Right? I'm like, oh yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Enough to worry about.
Yeah. So speaking of, now that we're kind of talking a little bit Halloweenish stuff, and I think you're a big fan of the holiday also. What's your most memorable, you think, things that stand out? Your most memorable Halloween costume?
Oh my gosh. I think my favorite one was I really wanted to wear tap shoes. That was like basically how I decided on the costume. And so I bought these tap shoes on Amazon. I still have them. And I decided to dress as the bee from Blind Melon. I don't know if people know.
I've done that one too. Yeah.
You have? Yeah. So that was so fun. And so I wore my tap shoes. So I loved that one. And it was pretty easy. And yeah.
You'll have to show me the picture of that one. I did not have tap shoes, but I did. I always go every year to like the Goodwill to get inspired for Halloween costumes because they're just so many great options. But that, I do love that costume. I think my favorite, well, I had two actually. I think one of the years I was Bob Ross, and
Oh
that
yeah,
one was
yeah,
like kind of creepy because I think I looked really, really good as Bob Ross, which I was like, this is really odd. But I had like a great wig. I even had like, what made me look like I had a beard. And then I also, one of my favorites was Punky Brewster because I always loved Punky Brewster.
Oh,
I can't,
Alyssa was Punky Brewster.
yeah, it's a good
It
one.
was well, and it was funny because so it makes sense for our age to be it.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
But Alyssa was Punky Brewster when she was like, I don't know, maybe 10. And I was like, the adults knew who she was, but none of the
No,
kids knew who she was. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Well,
love that.
that's kind of the thing, right? When you start picking these older characters, it's like,
Yeah.
who are you? You know what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this year I chose to be Inside Out because I figure all the kids will know who I am, or
Oh,
Sadness from Inside Out. So all the kids.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
paint the face blue, go all out. So we'll see.
I'm going to be Freddie Mercury.
What's Sean going to be?
I don't know. Sean doesn't tell me. Sean is like the master of like pulling something out of nowhere and it being amazing. Like one year,
I can see that.
I think it was like, oh my God, one year he was a DJ. He got this cheese ball costume on Amazon and it literally had a t-shirt that had headphones printed on it, like around the neck, like headphones printed on it. And then he managed to like mock it up so that it was so hysterical and so awesome. So he can just pull stuff out from nowhere. He also one year was Boy George from Culture Club. Nice. And he nailed it. He had our friend's daughter do his makeup and it was so good. So yeah, he can just create something out of nothing and it's freaking hilarious.
I love that.
So yeah, I get overwhelmed. Back to our big goals. Like I'll have this big picture in my head and I'm like, that sounds exhausting. And I'll just get overwhelmed.
Just go on Amazon. You're like, what can I find?
I know. I really wanted to be the break dancer, Ray Gun.
Oh yeah.
But it's going to be so many people are going to be her.
I already know a couple too. I know, but it is so good. So it doesn't matter if there's like a ton of people, I feel like.
So what's Jeff going to be?
Yeah, he's totally a slacker. Like I wanted him to be Anger from Inside Out. Yeah. He couldn't mask. So now he's like, I'll just be what I was last year because nobody remembers. It's like skeleton. Yeah. Right? I'm like, he's fine.
What about Wyatt?
My son has either been a football player or a soccer player his whole entire life because he doesn't really like to dress up. He's the kid that like never, a lot of kids like go around putting on costumes all year long.
Yeah.
My son, no, he hates dressing up. Like it's just not his thing. So I'm always like, hey, do you want to? He's like, I'm just gonna be a soccer player. I'm like,
oh my God, I love it.
Well, maybe I'll be a football player. Like, you be whatever you need to be, buddy. Like,
I love it. Oh my God.
It's very interesting because I feel like a lot of kids, especially his age, just love to dress up. And
God. I mean, I think we wore our costumes for like weeks at a time. Right. I have costumes for the dogs. I have Foster has a cheerleader costume, and then Shiloh has a Chucky.
Oh my gosh! So your dogs are old enough; they won't eat their costume. My dog's still kind of a puppy, so she would probably eat it. Moments after I tried to put anything on her, and my son's like, "Oh, we should." And I'm like, "She's just gonna eat it." Like,
yeah, you're right.
And she's literally like not gonna appreciate all the money I spent on her cute little costume.
No, I know.
If it's just for a quick photo, but
you might be able to get away with that, but yeah, other than that, no. But okay, so what's going on with the family besides Halloween? How's everybody doing?
The family, it's all transition time right now from sports. My little one, he's quite the athlete. We just finished up soccer, finished up baseball. Now we're jumping into hockey, which is honestly my favorite sport of all. So I always really love the fact that it's hockey season. So, hockey season runs until pretty much the year is done. I know it ends usually in March. So fun. Hence my like getting into sports photography. Like I'm spending a lot of time at the ice rink. So there's that. My older son, he is almost, although 16, finally almost getting his license. He's only been 16 and a half, but we're getting there. So hoping he can get that kind of dialed in and give himself the freedom that, I know I really appreciated at 16. And drive myself to different places. The husband's just, busy working. What about you?
So Chelsea has settled into Northern Arizona. So she's doing great in school. Well, I hope. I don't know about her grades. She's doing great. Everything else looks great. And then yeah, meeting friends, and I mean, yeah, she's just blown me away with her ability to adapt and meet new people. And she had one moment of like, hey, I don't know anybody here. What am I going to do? But she's just been awesome. So she's been camping. She's been doing stuff with friends. She did join a sorority, which is totally foreign to me. So I'm learning more and more about that.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so she's just living her best life. And then Alyssa, holy shit, that girl blows my mind. So she went to Europe by herself. The first week she actually spent with my sister-in-law, and then my sister-in-law left, and then she went to Madrid, and then she went to Granada, and then she decided to do the El Camino trail. Did I tell you this?
Amazing. Yes, that sounds
So she did, yeah, it was like, oh my God, you'll love this actually. So 3 days or so in, so I was checking in with her every day, 3 days or so. And she did not train for this. Like a lot of people train for it because it's like 200 miles. And she didn't train for this. She had to like get a couple things when she got there for gear. And her first day, she did 16 miles and she had 3 hard-boiled eggs in her backpack. That's all she ate. I was like, dude, you might
Oh my
need to like,
gosh. Where's the Cliff Bar?
yeah. So then, like, after a few days, she wrote, every day when I'm done, I'm not sure if I like this. And I started laughing so hard because I was like, welcome to like marathon training, parenting, like all the things that are
Right,
hard but so
right.
rewarding.
Yep.
And I was like, you probably aren't going to have fun, air quotes,
Yes.
fun, but it's going to be memorable, rewarding, like a feat of physical and mental strength, right? And you're going to be so proud that you did it. And it's going to be, again, one of those the year 2024. It's the year I did
Yep.
the Camino, right? So, yeah. So anyway,
That's awesome. I'm so
yeah,
jealous. I mean, I love to hike, and I mean, for her, it's just she's creating this lifelong
yeah,
memory, right? And she's going to look back and she's never going to think about how miserable she is. She's only going to think about how
yeah.
amazing it was. She's gonna be
I
like, that was
know.
so fun,
I know.
right?
And it's funny because she went by herself and she met so many people on the trail. I mean, like, but I said, what's the age? What's the average age? And she's like, they're mostly older and retired. But she met
Really?
one, yeah,
Interesting.
because right now it's not like the kids are in school. Like,
Oh,
it's not prime season for
mhm.
younger people. And I do think a lot of older people want to do El Camino more than younger. But she did meet a girl that is 27 and she's 22. So, around her age that
Yeah.
they ended up doing a lot of the hike together. But she was telling me stories. Like one day, there was a guy that asked if he could walk with her. And she's like, yeah, of course. And he was 74. He had lost his wife the year before to Alzheimer's.
Oh.
And he was telling her about his support group and how support group was like, you need to go do the El Camino. And so she's met all these people, and I'm like, they may not have been the people you expected to meet, but these are the characters that are going to be like part of your chapter, right? Like you're going to
Mhm.
remember these people for the rest of your life because they were so impactful in this small, tiny amount of time.
I love that. Isn't that it's so true because I remember when I traveled the east coast of Australia, and although it was only 1 month of my life,
Yeah.
I have friends that I still keep in contact that I met along
Yeah.
the way, right? And it was like the time I spent with them was so small in the larger scheme of life, but
Yeah.
like they had such an impact on me in that
Yeah.
time that she's going to look back and just be like, wow, you
I
know.
know. I know. I'm so like, I don't know. Somebody asked me how the girls were the other day. And I mean, as you know, there's been plenty of ups and downs. And I went through like this massive anxiety mess right when Chelsea left for
Mhm.
college. At this moment, and I know it could change any second, but I'm like I'll always be proud of them. But right now I'm at peace and so freaking proud of both of them because I feel like they've just navigated so beautifully and this uncertainty. And I have never put myself in those, at their age especially, I had never put myself in those
It's
situations.
impressive. And I think a lot of it though is probably you and your like ability to support their choices to do these things and encourage them to do these things where although maybe our parents were motivating to do certain things, like I definitely my mom, although I got a lot of travel in my later teen years, like it was just different. It wasn't like, hey, go fly to Europe and go I mean, and I did, like I said, take a big trip to Australia, but it was later in my 20s, right?
Yeah.
So I think having the opportunity to inspire and motivate your children, although it might have not been things you got to do, I think the fact that you support them has given them the wings to fly even further, right? Like you said, as opposed to like be nervous and scared to
Yeah.
take those
No,
steps.
I love that. I love the whole thought of like, because that's what you want, right? Like it
Hmm.
sucks when they leave, but you want them to feel like safe enough to fly far,
Yes.
you
And to
know?
do things and not look back and regret like their
Yep.
whole 20s where they're like, oh, I went right into work and I, head down and
Yep.
not to say that everybody has their different journeys that they have to take or choose to take, but like being able to realize there's a whole big world out there and to
Yeah.
go experience as much as you can, meet as many people as you can and find who you are.
Yeah.
Although I think we're always still finding out who we are. I feel like in your 20s, like that's the time to like
Totally.
figure out a lot of stuff. And you can't do, honestly, I don't think you can go wrong putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations,
Yeah.
such as like hiking trails and
Yeah.
traveling on your own. And
Yeah.
it pushes you to go meet people because if she
Yeah.
would have went with a buddy, it would have
Nope.
probably been a different experience.
You're right. And it's so funny because she said, so she was in Madrid and she was not a huge fan actually. She's like, it's just, I want
Mhm.
something more nature, like more, I want to meet people. And the people here, like in the hostels, they're all in big groups and stuff like that. And I was like, go to where you know you like to
Yeah.
be. Like if you
Yeah.
want to go hike and like where you can hike and stuff, go to those places. And so she did. And I was like, and if you don't like, I said, that's the beauty of your trip. Like you don't have anybody with you. You don't have an agenda. So it's like, if you don't like where you are, pick up and move. Like you're not stuck. Pick up and move and you're going to find your people. And
Yeah.
it was funny because as I was talking to her, I'm like, you kind of coach yourself sometimes.
You go
Like,
back.
I need to remember this. Like, if you feel stuck, just keep moving,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The other thing that she said, and you just touched on it when you were talking about like, just like creating these
Hmm.
memories and don't have a regret over what you should have done or whatever. She was like unsure about doing El Camino. And I was like, here's the thing. Cause she was like, I'm going to have to pay for some stuff. I'm going to have to, I already have a sleeping bag at home. I'm going to have to buy an extra one. That's wasteful. Like she's very, very like conservative and cautious.
Hmm.
And I was like, you know what? Here's the thing. You're there and this is the time. And I was like, and I told her the story of my dad, which I think I've shared with you, but I don't know that I've shared it on the
Hmm.
show before. When my dad, he was very good about saving and he was always saving for the future, always saving for the future. And he always had the saying that he was going to die. He's like, as I take my last breath, I'm going to spend my last nickel. Like that was his goal, right? Like he was an accountant. He wanted to die with an even like a zero balance, right? So I remember the moment he realized he was not going to accomplish that and that he was going to die before he was able to like have all those adventures and spend all that money. And the look in his eye was so heartbreaking. And I told her that story. I was like, I don't want you to live that same way. Like, I want you to be like, I did all this shit. Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
it's one of those things that when you have the opportunity, especially when you're already in a place like that, just do it. Do
Yeah.
everything that you want to experience because you just don't know when are you going to get back there, right? And
Yeah.
I feel like that's the hardest part about, we've chatted about this before, like living in the moment versus saving for the future.
Yeah.
Like, oh, where I think it pulls on all of us, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to be financially secure and as we get older, right? And make sure our
Yeah.
kids are, in a good place. But also like you don't want to look back and say, well, when I was in my 50s, like I was saving so hard that I
Yeah.
didn't do anything. And then you get to
Yeah.
a point where stuff comes up, stuff happens. Like you just never know. So I think it's,
Yeah.
always reminding yourself that yes, a part of you needs to maybe be a little safe, but there's a part of you that it's okay sometimes to say, fuck it. And I'm just going to do it, or I'm going to buy it. Or,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I always go back to, life's too short, buy the bike, right? Cause I'm a huge
Yeah.
cyclist. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, are you ever going to regret something that you love so much or going somewhere that you wanted to go so much? Are you ever going to think like, gosh, like,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Experiences for sure. You made me think because it's so funny. The same word popped in my head, the fuck it word. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, we should all have a fuck it budget,
Yeah. Yes, I
that you're like,
agree.
this deserves the fuck it budget. So
Yeah.
here's a weird one that I don't think I told you this yet either, but I decided to get the full body MRI Did I tell you that?
we chatted about how you, on one of our shows
Yeah.
where were considering it. Okay.
Yep.
Haven't done it yet though, have you?
I did it.
Oh,
I did it. Yeah. So, everything turned out great. I was like
good.
so happy,
Awesome.
but, I was like, should I spend the money? Should I not? I mean, I totally went back and forth. And here's the thing. It's $2,500. It is like not going to break the bank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most likely for most
Yeah,
people.
no, I mean, it's worth it, right? Peace of mind,
right. So, and if there is something wrong, think of what you're going to spend in like copays and medications and all that shit. Right. So anyway, so I finally was like, fuck it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I spent the money. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, I knew it wasn't going to break us, but I also felt the guilt of like, oh, I'm not bringing in what I was, but it's that whole dance. Right. Yeah. So, but finally I was like, fuck it. And of course, Sean was like, yeah, do it. I don't care. And I'm telling you, it's like it ranks up there as one of the best possible things I've spent money on. Just to
have
know
that peace of mind of like, I'm okay. And if something didn't come back okay, the peace of mind to be like, you can proactively start doing what you need to do as opposed to waiting until you feel something or something doesn't seem right. Like, I totally agree. And that $2,500, you'll never blink twice at because you'll be like, hey, it was worth it in so many ways.
And there is something about like, there's some things that I've invested in that I've been like, like a coach that I had one time that I was like, every time I went to the coaching session, I was like annoyed that I had spent the money on it. Like, so but there's also been a coach that I've had that every time I spent the money, I was happy to write that check or I was happy to pay that bill.
Is that Nicoa? Because I think we had her on the show. No,
she's awesome. Yeah, I was happy to spend that money. And that's the thing. It's like, that's how you should feel. You should feel like, yes, it's an investment, but I am happy I spent that money.
Right.
It pays me something.
Yeah. I think when you purchase something or you invest in something and you can look back and say, yeah, that was a little bit of money, but you never feel bad about it, then you know it was worth it. Absolutely.
For sure. Like I literally like the one coach that was bad, it was like an athletic coach. It wasn't like a coach, it was an athletic coach, but the one coach I felt bad about, like literally I would drive there and I'd be like dreading, like, why am I still, cause I'm like, I already paid for it. I have to go. It was that feeling. And instead of like being excited about it, I'm like that it should feel like you should be excited to go. Excited.
Right. And that takes us full circle back to your Misogi, or is it Misogi, right?
Yeah, Misogi.
Something like that. Misogi. Yes. Don't regret. Don't feel like it's something that you don't want to put out there. Put something out there you're excited about. Like Jenny is stoked about her business. She's excited to move forward. Me, I'm going to be this phenomenal sports photographer, and I'm going to look back and say, I'm so glad that I did this. And you know what? I think if we all do that with what we put out there, we're all just going to be happier at the end of the day. And we're going to feel accomplished. Right?
Well, and the fulfillment piece, I think fulfillment, everybody says I want to be happy, but I think there's a thing about you want to feel fulfilled, right?
Yes.
And that includes sad, hard, easy, happy, includes all the things.
Yeah. How boring if you didn't put something out there that wasn't going to challenge you a little bit.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Yeah. Like I know I'll be cussing at my computer. I know I'll be frustrated. Like that's part of the deal, Right.
Yeah. Put the work in. So I think we can just kind of close with that for today. I really hope that you all enjoyed listening to us kind of chat about all things. Please stay tuned to the podcast. We're going to have a lot of upcoming amazing guests on. Every woman has their own amazing journey that we look forward to sharing. So once again, thank you all for listening.
Thank you.